Hello, friends, and welcome to the Powerful Podcast. I'm your host, AJ McCord. In this podcast, we introduce you to powerful women who are changing the game in and outside of their field of play. These are women's stories, women who happen to be doing things that many of us can only dream of, but the lessons and inspiration they share is universal. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Powerful Podcast. I'm your host, AJ McCord, and we are getting you all ready for the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan Cortina. It has been such an epic season so far, and we continue today with somebody whose character is as recognized as her skills on the ice as she heads to her fourth Olympics. Brittany Bowe is one of those athletes that just grounds you. She reminds you what is important in life, even as she's one of the most excellent in her sport. And this podcast really reminded me about how big picture life can be and how we get so caught up in the nitty-gritty and forget about what really matters. It is something that from the outside looking in, Brittany has never forgotten. And the lessons about how she's been able to do that are ones that I'm going to carry with me. So I really hope you enjoy this episode of the Powerful Podcast. This one feels whole. And so with no further ado, I present Brittany Bowe. She is going to represent Team USA in 3 different long track speed skating events. Brittany, thank you so much for joining us in the midst of all of this chaos of training and getting ready for Italy.
Thank you for having me. It's so much fun. Happy to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. And first and foremost, one of the ways that we started the podcast this season is by asking every athlete to break down their sport in the most simple terms. So I want you to talk to me like I have no idea what speed skating is. How do you describe your sport?
So long track speed skating is competed on a 400-meter oval, and that is the same size as a running track. And for each event, there are 2 people on the ice at a time. One starts on the inner lane, one starts on the outer lane, and each lap you complete, you actually switch lanes on the backstretch. So each skater is skating the same distance. But it is a time trialing sport. So at the end of the distance or end of the day, the fastest person wins. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
You have got to be so fast in order to do that. And then there's the chaos of trying to change lanes. So this is such a fun sport to watch. It is one of those sports, every time it comes up in the Olympics or in a World Cup year, it is like so mesmerizing to watch the flow state that you enter as a speed skater. What does it feel like to compete in this sport?
Everything but that. Before I started speed skating, I was an inline skater. So I watched speed skating a little bit, and that is exactly what it looks like. Mesmerizing, poetry in motion, smooth, fast, but in control. And in the moment, you are enduring more pain than is like humanly imaginable. You're signing up for self-inflicting pain every time you start on that start line. I mean, the lactic acid that builds up in your legs is out of this world. So, winning makes it a little bit more enjoyable.
I can imagine winning, by the way, something you've done in this sport quite a bit. You're getting ready to head to your 4th Olympics. And there's a few different elements of that I want to talk about. We're going to get to the fact that every time we talk about what you've done in this sport, it seems like every interview you bring up what the next generation is doing, which is such a cool character quality. But I'm not going to let you escape talking about yourself in this podcast, Miss Ma'am, because going to your 4th Olympics, you are already bringing home medals. How does this one feel compared to the last 3, knowing that you've already announced, hey, this is going to be my last?
Yeah, each quad that I have participated in has been so different. And this one, knowing it's my last, it's interesting because I'm actually able to kind of like reflect on my career while I'm still in the moment. And this quad, I've been able to be really present, really just trust the process, enjoy the process, realizing that my life is bigger than just skating and trying to really put an emphasis on finding like that person outside of sport. I've really been working on that leading into this Olympics, and it's given me kind of a sense of peace. Like, I'm going out there to race, I'm going out there to win, but I truly know my identity isn't just about what happens at this Olympic Games.
That is such a universal reality for people who have identified as one thing for the majority of their life, whether that is your athletic career, whether that is your career, whether that is becoming a mom, like whatever that is. It's such an important process. And it's something that honestly, I feel like I'm reevaluating it all the time, because I have been somebody who has really, first I was a gymnast. I was a competitive gymnast. I was an athlete, and that was it. And then when that went away, I was like, okay, now I'm going to throw myself into telling stories about other athletes who didn't get hurt, didn't get scared, didn't choose a sport that you aged out of at 16. And that's been great. But then it's like, well, who am I outside of this career? It is such a big freaking question. How have you answered it? How have you broken it down?
It's something that I work on every single day, and something that has really been brought to life this year for me. I was working with a sports psych, and she's been fantastic, and she's really dug and picked more and more questions out of me. And it's really made me go inside, because when I'm first asked the question, it's like, no, this isn't my identity. But then when I actually take a moment to go inside and reflect, like my entire life has been revolved around sport, performance, results. So while I know that that's not my identity, there's so much more to me than that. That's exactly the way I've lived my entire life. So really trying to peel back those layers and understanding that there is more to life than sport is something that I'm actively working on. And the more I've continued to work on it, the more I'm able to find peace and just enjoy this process.
What a freaking gift to have that work be happening in the present moment, because I feel like so often, right? Like, even if this is the end as an athlete, or as this is the last job, or whatever it is, right? There's like this pressure to get it perfect then. And it's almost like, well, if this is the last one, I've got to make it count. I've got to make sure that I do it to the best of my ability, and I win the gold medal, or I get the highest score, or I do X, Y, and Z that proves that all of this time that I've been putting my value and my worth into this one thing is worth it. But it sounds like the way you've done this process almost takes the pressure off whatever result you have in your final Olympic Games.
It really does, because I have had debilitating moments at the Olympic Games. And I think going through my last 3 Olympic Games, yes, I've had success. Yes, I've come home with medals, but it does not showcase the success that I've had throughout my career. And it's something like, why can I not show up to my full potential at the start line of the Olympics? And it's because I put so much weight on this one moment. And I know so many other athletes and business people, whatever you want most in your life, you're going to put so much on that. And that has been debilitating for me at times. And now that I've been able to do this work, you said it exactly. It really takes the pressure off.
So with the pressure being off, what are you most looking forward to? What do you expect from yourself, or like, what are the goals you're setting for this Olympics?
I just want to show up and be able to compete at my best level and feel good about that performance, not looking back and, oh gosh, I was really holding like this tension in my legs, or I was shaky. I don't want these thoughts, like negative thoughts or questioning thoughts, become intrusive and actually create these like psychological triggers that we have all felt, whether it's shaky legs or fast heartbeat. And yes, that's natural. We're all going to feel like that. But to be able to, just relax through those moments and work through them, and be able to go across that finish line and just know, like, I couldn't have gone any faster. Like, that was my best on that day. And in addition to that, like after Beijing, not having my family, friends, and fans in the stands, having my family there and being able to share this few last laps around the track together mean the world to me.
And of course, we can't mention family without mentioning the fact that you and Hillary have already been dubbed the power couple of this Olympic Games. But you're with a scheduling conflict. We were talking about just the logistical nightmare that is trying to be at all of the things all the time in Italy. Luckily, you guys are in the same village, so you're both competing in Milan, but it's a pretty decent haul from your venue to hers. And the gold medal game for hockey would be right before your event for speed skating. How are you managing this?
Don't make me cry on this podcast. Don't make me have to make a decision. I
You don't
know
have to
where
make
I
one.
want I know where I want to be. I know Hillary wants me there. I'll have to make a decision, but yes, that's going to pull at my heartstrings until I finally make a decision. And hey, if that's, the biggest decision that has to be, then I guess like I'm blessed. But
Yeah.
one way or another, I will be watching it, but obviously I would love to be in the stands cheering them on and hopefully them beating Canada.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine? It would be incredible. Speaking of things that honestly, in prepping for this interview, kind of made me cry. Mama Debbie is out here with her winter gloves and ensuring that they get from country to country. So the biggest question I have, so let's talk about that first. How did this tradition of your mom showing up with these specific gloves that have the little pom-poms on them? I mean, I know she was a baton twirler. Is that like, where does this come from?
So these were, I believe they were a gift from her goddaughter, many, many, many years ago, and they're called her pom gloves. So she brings her little pom gloves everywhere, and Debbie doesn't enter the building or take a photo for that matter without these pom gloves on. So like they're her signature piece of attire, I suppose.
Now, were you ever in the running to take up the baton, quite literally, from your mom, as she was a former baton twirler?
She is a former baton twirler and in the Baton Twirling Hall of Fame. I gotta give her props. So I didn't even know this was a thing, right? Mm-hmm. So yes, she's the real deal there. But to answer your question, yes, my mom put me in baton twirling, and we'll have to dig up a photo to include on this because I know there is one floating around. But it's funny, I don't necessarily remember this, but my mom shares a story of the moment she knew baton was not for me. And it's when one time I was playing out in the backyard and my mom came outside and she saw me just beating something in the bushes with my baton, instead of twirling it. So I think she said at that moment, she's like, honey, yeah, like we tried, but this isn't for you.
So I can just imagine your mom being like so excited, like, oh my gosh, my daughter, she's out here practicing with her baton, and then walking out. And I imagine just like a borderline, like feral child beating this bush of like,
Probably.
What's happening? Like just the opposite. Baton twirling is so graceful. It's so beautiful. They just like are so magnificent. And you're like, no, hacking at this bush.
Yeah, it wasn't in the cards for me, but thankfully my mom has got to live her dance, cheer, baton life through my sister because my sister grew up dancing and she's a professional dancer and choreographer now. So we still have that in our blood and in our life.
Okay, good. I know Debbie is happy about that, but it's been so fun because she is a fixture at so many of your races, and those gloves are really quite iconic. I cannot wait for people to see that when she gets to Milan. But so we knew baton twirling was not for us at a young age. How did you get into inline and speed skating?
Yep, so I came across the sport of inline skating by chance. I was 8 years old and I went to the local skating rink for a friend's birthday party, and the inline skating team had practice after this birthday party. And the inline skating coach of this team, she must have seen me zipping around the track and came up to me and told me a little bit about skating, invited me out to a practice, and the rest is kind of history. I tried the sport of inline skating and found out very quickly I had an absolute need for speed. So that's how I got involved in a sport that I didn't know existed, and I'm sure the majority of your listeners didn't even know existed.
And that's what's always so fascinating to me when we're talking about sports that are these niche Olympic sports, right? Is not only do most people not know they exist, but then understanding the track to go from just trying the sport to becoming an Olympian is often so convoluted, right? We talk about your big three, your NFL, your NBA, your MLB, even your NWSL and your PWHL to some extent, right? Like you go to high school, you do the youth sports, you do it in high school, you do it in college, and then you go pro. What was the process like for you to go from just trying these sports out to going to your fourth Olympics?
Yeah, so my path to where I am today is probably pretty unconventional. Like I said, I stumbled upon this sport of inline speed skating, and essentially this is just rollerblading. And it is not an Olympic sport, but it is a world championship level sport. It's competed at the Pan American Games, and I traveled all around the world racing. I was invited to be on a professional team when I was probably 12 or 13. So really got a lot of exposure competing at a really high level. Well, at the same time, I grew up in the basketball gym. My dad was a high school basketball coach for the majority of my life. So basketball was my first love. I was always in the gym with his teams. And as I grew up, I'm in high school now. And growing up, I played every sport under the sun. But really, this inline roller skating and basketball were the two sports that really stuck with me. And I was really serious about basketball throughout high school. One of my dreams was always to play Division I basketball. So when I came up on my graduating year of high school, I had two choices. One was to try ice speed skating. The US Olympic and Paralympic Committee had a program that took the top inline skaters in the US and funded them for, I think it was 12 months to try this sport because ice speed skating is a very small sport. So that was one option. My second option was to accept a full scholarship to play Division I basketball at Florida Atlantic University. And that's what I did. At that point in my life, that was a no-brainer for me. I always wanted to play ball and had 4 really great years at Florida Atlantic. Still kind of dabbled with inline skating throughout college, but going into my senior year, I was like really focused on basketball. Kind of like, okay, I want to go play professional overseas with the hopes of making it into the WNBA. So I hung up my inline skates completely and stayed down in South Florida throughout the whole summer to really just try to perfect my craft. And funny enough, here I am, my graduating year, 2010, the same year as the Winter Olympics in Vancouver. And I was sitting on the couch with my roommate, watching opening ceremonies, watching the competition. And what did I see? I saw some of my inline skating friends and competitors walking in those opening ceremonies, competing, winning medals. Well, at that moment in time, you could say I had a complete change of heart. When I said one of my dreams was always to play Division I basketball, well, another childhood dream was to always become an Olympian. So at that moment, I was like, man, if they can do it, I can do it. So I really just packed up once I graduated from Florida Atlantic. I moved out to Salt Lake City and tried ice speed skating for the very first time.
And what was your first impression of ice speed skating?
It is a lot harder than it looks. But having such a big foundation in skating my whole life, you said you're a surfer, you could snowboard, like there's probably some kind of transition there or some similarities that can make that crossover. If I was a 22-year-old person that had never been on skates, my hopes of going to the Olympics would probably be pretty slim. But because I had, 20 some years, or 15 years of experience on skates, it really gave me a huge advantage, as it does other top inline skaters that make this transition later in life.
So when did it go from like, hey, this is kind of a curiosity, let's see how this goes, to this is actually something that I can achieve a childhood dream with? Like, what was that realization like for you?
After a year on long track, or after a season, I should say, I got invited to be on the national team. So I was invited to be on the national racing program. And from there on out, I was just making these huge strides. And my third year on ice, or I guess my fourth season leading into the Sochi Olympic Games, the 2013-14 year, I set my first world record in the 1,000 meter. And at that moment, I was like, holy cow, like I really have a shot to, cement my name in the sport of speed skating. So really just leading right into Sochi 3 years after I stepped on the ice, I was like, I really have a place here.
Hmm. How validating did that feel? Because I imagine one thing that I talk about with my sort of career minded girlfriends, but also very entrepreneurial friends, is this idea of pursuing curiosity and being open to the what ifs and the opportunities. And Anna Gibson is another athlete that we've had on this podcast. And, she tried ski mountaineering for the first time less than a year before she ended up helping Team USA qualify to make it to the Olympics for ski mountaineering. And we talked a lot about like what ifs and how you can view that as like, oh my gosh, what if everything goes wrong? But then you can also view it as, well, what if everything goes right? And so for you, how did you sort of develop that skill of bravery, I want to say, of pursuing your curiosities and staying open to new pivots?
Yeah, I think it's just been something that has been instilled in me forever, starting with my parents, always kind of giving me the platform to try anything that I wanted to try, and never, you know, having any sort of I don't know, like negative aura about like not succeeding in something. Like it's always been put on the table. Like just keep trying. Whatever you want to do, go after it. If your heart's in it, if your head's in it, like you have the chance and the ability to do whatever you want to do. But yeah, looking back on that 13-14 season, setting my first world record, starting to make some World Cup podium appearances, like that validation was real. And that really helped me start to build confidence. And, confidence doesn't just show up. It's built over such a long period of time in your training and your preparation. And of course, having results really springboard that confidence to new levels. But yeah, just not having fear and going forward. And if it's something that you love and you're passionate about, if you don't achieve that top thing, you're always going to learn something from it.
And it's that part, right? Because I think so often we fall into this trap of believing that, well, what if it doesn't work out? That means I've failed. Instead of viewing it as, what if it doesn't work out? Well, that means I've learned something. And it's kind of like almost as old as Albert Einstein, right? Inventing the light bulb. Like I haven't failed. I've learned 1,000 ways that didn't make a light bulb or whatever that. I think that's the inventor who did that, right? So to me, that's such an easy thing to say, right? Like, what if I put myself out there and I don't get it? Well, at least I've learned something. But frick, I put myself out there.
Yeah.
And like, that's scary and that's hard. How did you develop the resiliency to do that?
Still working on it, and more than just learning something, it's also just like the impact that we have on all the people around us, right? Like as an athlete, like we are solely measured on performances and results, but as I've gone through my career and different things have happened, it's really obvious to me like those things don't really matter. Like what really matters is, yes, what can you learn from it, but more so like what is the positive impact that we can leave on people? And to me, legacy is so much more than just those results. And yes, the further I've gotten in my career, it helps, little kids looking up to you, asking questions, your teammates, your competitors, and them sharing their experiences and the impact that I've had on them really opens my eyes to, yeah, it is so much bigger than just, the placement that's next to your name.
I'm really proud of you. We made it 20 minutes into this podcast without you bringing up other people and wanting to highlight them and what they've done. Because I told you at the beginning of this that I know that is your MO when we talk about you, Brittany. So often you're so quick to reflect the light of other people and how much they have achieved and how much you're excited to watch other people. And so when you talk about legacy, I want to run through some of the things that will certainly be remembered far beyond any medals that you bring home. The first is that your high school actually created the Brittany Bowe Character in Athletics Award. And this was after in 2022, your teammate, Aaron Jackson and lifelong friend, slipped during the Olympic trials and you gave up your spot in the race so that she could race in the 500 meter. And she ended up becoming the very first Black woman to win a gold medal in the Winter Olympics, very first American Black woman to win a gold medal in the Winter Olympics. And these are the things, Brittany, when you start researching who you are, this is your legacy. You are somebody who lifts others up, who creates space for people who don't always get a chance to be represented. I'm curious, as you approach this last games, how validating is it that all of that ability to view the whole picture and to be a whole person while being a fierce competitive athlete, that this is the story. This is what's being talked about.
Yeah, I really owe it to everyone that I've been surrounded by growing up. I've had great examples and leaders in my life, both of my parents being coaches, both of them being educators. They set the tone of, what matters the most, being surrounded by great coaches who care more about the athletes than themselves. I've just had so many opportunities and doors opened for me. And don't get me wrong, yes, I've worked really hard to make it through those doors, but I've just been given so many opportunities. So to be able to, also have an impact on someone else and, like Erin, you could say given her an opportunity to have that monumental win, but at the end of the day, like that was her, she got the job done. But I guess to answer your question, I think I've just been so fortunate to be surrounded by such positive mentors, parents, coaches, teachers in my life that like that's just the way you do things.
Yeah, it's so cool because you hear it, like for you, it's just this second nature. It's not even second nature, it's first nature. This is who you are. But I think it is so rare to come upon an athlete who has had the extreme amount of success that you have had, who's managed to maintain that. So I want to give you your flowers for a second of saying that it has been a joy to watch you in your career, both on the ice and off of it. And your impact goes so much further than when we look up the different medals that got handed out at these 4 games and seeing your name in those lines. It's like so much more than that. And it just makes it so freaking easy to root for you. And I cannot wait to do it when you get to Italy.
Thank you so much. But it's been a process. It has been a process.
Sure.
If I think back to, maybe my first or second quad when I started having a lot of success, to me, like getting second place was almost like a failure. And I would throw little fits if I didn't win. And, I think, all athletes and people, like you go through these learning curves, and for sure it wasn't always like this, so I don't want to make it sound like it was this perfect story, but through everything, the wins, the losses, the comebacks, all these things have really shaped me into who I am, for sure. So I'm just so thankful to have had this long career that has just taught me how to be a good person and carry things with me for whatever is next in life.
Do you have any idea of what is next in life, or are we saving that for March?
No, I don't know. I'm definitely, I've trained my body for so long, and recently I've been really, really interested in training the mind and learning about those things. So definitely, thinking like, how could I be involved in sports, but maybe get into the mental and mindset
Mm.
coaching, and not just in sports, but with all different things in life. So kind of interested in maybe exploring that route. But just focused on the games for now, and I think an opportunity will present itself when the time is right.
I think absolutely. And we'll sidebar on that because if you haven't listened to the episode with Zoe Atkins, she's a free skier from Great Britain. She actually went to Stanford and took a class called The Nature of Our Beliefs that I think you would absolutely love. It's like breaking down the biological response of our
Cool.
emotions and how we attribute either a positive or a negative impact to whatever that emotion is, right? Like happy is positive and fear is negative. But for her, she's worked so much with making sure that that fear is actually not a negative emotion, but it's just an emotion that tells her that
Hmm.
this is important and pay attention. And it's so fascinating. So we'll have to I'm so excited. Whatever, I'll be first to sign up for your mental performance class because that would
Yeah.
be an incredible value. And I'm so excited to see what is for you beyond speed skating. But I do not want to let the excitement of this moment, your 4th freaking Olympics. Congratulations. It's a massive, massive achievement in and of itself. And to do it the way you've done it, it makes it even more impressive.
Thank you so much. It's an
Yeah.
honor, to say the least.
Ugh, cannot wait to watch you in Italy. So before we let you go, last question we always end this podcast with is, this is the Powerful Podcast. We are all about highlighting powerful women like yourself. What does powerful mean to you?
Finding power within yourself and remaining true to yourself will take you wherever you want to go. Having that confidence, having the belief, knowing what you stand for. If you have those things, you can go wherever you want to go.
I love that. Words to live by, Brittany. Good luck in Italy. Thank you for taking the time, and we'll root for you always, wherever it leads.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week. Season 4 of the Powerful Podcast is getting you ready for the Winter Games in Milan Cortina. So look for new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday, everywhere you get your podcasts. And if you really enjoy this and don't want to miss an episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button.